Hi, I'm Jim Knotts, President and CEO of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Welcome to today's virtual reading of the names. 2022 marks the 40th anniversary of the dedication of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. As part of our commemoration, we'll host an in-person reading of the names at the wall from November 7th through 10th, 2022, when all 58,281 names on the wall will be read aloud. In the lead up to that event, we'll be reading names each day online while sharing the photos of these heroes. For our daily virtual reading, the names of the service members will be read by month and day of death between the years 1956 and 1975 in alphabetical order for the given day. We apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Know that our readers are doing their best to honor these service members. We hope you'll listen and watch each day and share with others as we remember and honor those who gave their lives during the Vietnam War.
James Edward Adams, Charles Philip Alexander, Walter Gilmore Anderson, Dale Edward Anderson, Floyd Samuel Atoll, Thomas Edward Badavis, Victor Wolfe Badway, Jr., Robert Nelson Baker, Thomas Harry Baker, Bartolome Alfonso Baldera, Peter Leno Barilli, Jeffrey Thomas Beardsley, Thomas Eugene Bewley, Domingo R.S. Borja, I.V. Barrage, Grover Cleveland Bowen, Jack Williams Brasington, James Douglas Brown, Raymond Douglas Burbage, Carl Henry Casilla, Roderick Wesley Calhoun, James Patrick Califf, Alan Brooks Calloway, Stanley Dean Calvin, Florentino Cantu, Jr., Randall Mark Carlton, Harold E. Carter, Vernon Glenn Chase, Robert Douglas Christensen, Howard Lee Clack, Marvin Ray Cole, William Thomas Conley, Ronald James Corbin, Robert Coronado, James Clinton DeFranco, Robert Eugene DeSalle II, Michael Gary Dinkins, Lon Doherty Jr., Paul Melvin Douglas, Edward Francis Downey Jr., Freddie Lee Edwards Jr., Stephen Gill Epperson, Maurice W. Flournoy, Richard Patrick Frasca, Ronald Lee Garner, Robert Eugene Gelinek Jr., William Allen Gilmore, John Alton Gerard Jr., Harold Gomez, Ray Melvin Harmon, Glenn Alvin Harris, Robert Louis Hawkins, Paul Dell Hirschbach, Byron Grant Highland, Marshall Raymond Hirsch, Charles Ronald Horton, Walter Lee Howard, Joseph Hudson Jr., James Doherty Hunter, Zygmunt Paul Jablonski Jr., Joseph Louis Jacobs, Philip Allen Johnson, Bernard Laverne Johnson II, Thomas Lee Jordan,
John Edward Jordan, Lawrence Wicks Jordan, Ramon Gerardo, John Wade Kinney, John Jerome Kopfer, James J. LaBarber, Sabino Lara Jr., John Joseph Levulis, Paul Luther Lloydolt, Roger Lee Mackey, Frank Ronald Manello, Richard Lee Martin, Christopher W. Marr, Vernon Allen Merritt, Donald Wayne Miller, Terry Lee Nielsen, John Donald Osman, Joe Louis Peake, James William Pendergrass, Wilbert Jean Pennell, Terry John Perko, Wilbert Peters, Peter Paul Pollock, Robert James Potts, Edward Dean Powers, Dale Eugene Robber, Richard John Riker, Lucian Robinson, Roy Ray Robinson, Walter Robinson, Clarence Robinson, Jr., Richard John Rocax, Harry Quincy Rose, Robert John Rosenwald, William Allen Rotze, Christopher Eugene Ruberg, John Joseph Rudenek, Lenny Harold Scarf, Victor Stephen Schlichting, Robert Lee Schrand, William Blake Scott, John Raymond Selleck, James Thomas Seymour, Clifford Chester Sims, William Gary Smith, Mitchell Bruce Smith, Paul Philip Sunstein, Johnny Spencer, Jr., Paul Stasko, Jr., Herbert Hoover Sweat, Jr., Raymond Ralph Taylor, Jr., Robert Joseph Thelen, Dennis Michael Thompson, Peter Stephen Timmerman, George Donald Tinko, Troy Franklin Tomlin, Juan Manu Velez Villamil, James Richard Walker, Walter Weiss, Scott Brian Westfall, John Grady Wilkes, Everett Nelson Wilshire, Wayne Thomas Woodruff, Arthur Wright, Frederick Anthony Young,